This is of Malice and Mirth.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Happy Sunday.
Sunday fun day.
Thanks for coming back.
Yes, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us today.
We are at episode 7.
7.
Whoop, whoop. So, today we have quite an array for you.
Yes, gotta keep it interesting.
Yeah, we got it. I mean, it goes from theme to theme to theme, but you know what? It's all good shit. So, I think you'll like it. But before we get into that, we wanted to remind you, we have gotten some submissions from people, which we really appreciate it.
Yes.
But we're running a little low. So if you could please send in any of your story submissions to
of Malice and Mirth at gmail.com.
We would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, please.
But yeah, thank you to everyone who has listened and liked and followed.
And subscribed.
All the things. Like, we really appreciate it.
Yes.
Truly.
Keep them coming because we love to go through all the stories that we're getting and we want to see interaction on our socials. So if y'all have like anything, like just if you just want to say hi, that's perfect for us.
Yes, we would say hi back. I promise. We won't ignore you. But okay, well, that's it for the business. So let's get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ready, set.
Oh my God.
Go.
Okay. So I'm excited to tell you this story because not only does it have conspiracy theory, it also has a cryptid.
So that's right up your alley.
It is right up my alley because I love me the cryptids.
Yes.
So today we are talking about the Montauk Project.
Okay. And what was that again?
Well, you will see. No, but it's like a offshoot of the MK Ultra that we did last week. So It's like a continuation kind of.
Got it.
Quote unquote. It's not like set in stone. So MK Ultra, we had a very finite, the CIA has declassified it and it is known to be true.
Yeah.
This one is not. So
This
it's
one's
more
like
of a
hush,
conspiracy. This one's a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
So, but that being said.
So we're unhushing the hush hush.
Yes.
Ooh.
That was a noise. Okay. So there are places in this world that feel different. Places where time doesn't behave the way it should. Where memories feel unreliable. Where people leave feeling unsettled but can't quite explain why. Montauk, New York is one of those places.
What?
I know. At the very tip of Long Island sits an abandoned military base called Camp Hero. Officially, it's a state park. Unofficially, it's the center of one of the most disturbing conspiracy theories ever whispered about the U.S. government. Dun dun dun.
Okay, so I'm trying to picture this in my head. So like New York, right? And then you have like NYC.
Yes, and then you have Long Island. Oh, other side for you.
Okay.
So Long Island,
Uh-huh.
and it's at the tip of Long Island.
Got it. Because like when I think New York, I think like bustling city, like
Yeah.
people all around.
No, this
so when
is
you
like-
say like park,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
like,
This is actually like a 460 something acre park too.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, so it's big. But there is a theory. Wait. No. There is a what? But there is a conspiracy theory there involving mind control, psychic warfare, missing children, interdimensional beings, and experiments that may have broken time itself on this beautiful acreage.
So Stranger Things.
Oh my God. You know what's really fucking weird?
What?
In my research, there was a lot of people tying parallels to Stranger Things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of people were like, it's basically the Montauk Project in film version, I guess. Which I haven't seen Stranger Things.
Okay, because I've seen like seasons 1 through, I think we're watching to 3 right now. So,
Okay.
and I know, so we're behind.
So,
yeah.
Well,
but
how dare you?
I'm telling you the things that have gone down. I'm excited to hear what you're going to say.
Yes. So this is the Montauk Project. Camp Hero was established during World War II and expanded during the Cold War. Its official purpose was coastal defense, detecting enemy submarines and aircraft using advanced radar systems. So that's what people thought it was for.
Okay.
At the heart of the base stood a massive radar tower, part of the Montauk Air Force Station. That was hard for me to say. Part of the Montauk Air Force Station. Locals say the tower emits a low-frequency hum, causes headaches, nausea, anxiety, triggers panic attacks and dissociation, and makes people feel watched. Even skeptics admit something about the structure feels oppressive. Mm-hmm. And then there's what's below the base. Former workers and urban explorers describe multi-level underground tunnels, reinforced concrete chambers, heavy blast doors, and rooms with no windows, no markings, and no clear purpose. Despite the base being decommissioned, large portions remain sealed and inaccessible. And that's where the theories begin. Oh. But before we get to Montauk, we do need to rehash MK Ultra, just in case. If you haven't listened to last week's, then go listen to that first, because it'll make more sense. But I'll give you a brief overview. So MK Ultra was a CIA program officially confirmed and declassified in the 1970s. The goal there was to explore mind control, interrogation techniques, and behavioral modification. Methods include LSD and other hallucinogens, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, electroshock therapy, psychological torture, and many of the experiments were done on subjects unbeknownst to them. So the victims included prisoners, psychiatric patients, soldiers, civilians who never consented. Yeah. When MK Ultra was exposed, the public was horrified, but many researchers believe that MK Ultra didn't end. They believe it evolved. According to conspiracy theorists, MK Ultra was folded into something called the Phoenix Project, or Project Phoenix, a program that shifted focus from chemical mind control to electromagnetic and psychic manipulation. Instead of drugs, the new weapon was frequencies. Okay. So they were using frequencies to mind control rather than the drugs. Yeah, pretty much. Montauk, isolated and already militarized, became the ideal testing ground. Okay. Much of what we know comes from Preston Nichols, the co-author of the Montauk Project's Experiments in Time. He claimed that he worked on advanced radar and frequency equipment at Camp Hero. He began experiencing vivid dreams and flashbacks, and his memories were triggered by returning to Montauk years later. He said that the technology used there interacted directly with the human brain, not metaphorically, literally. Nichols believed that the Montauk radar system could amplify brain waves, influence thoughts and emotions, synchronize minds, and break down the barrier between imagination and reality. According to him, thoughts weren't just thoughts anymore, they became signals. So he believed that people could, telepathically communicate.
So, okay, side note. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I don't know what you're going on about. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Mm-hmm. But you know how, they always say, twins have, a
special connection?
Yeah. I wonder if that played a big part in it.
I wonder. I don't know, because they didn't mention anything about that. But, I would assume that they would have tested on twins.
That makes me real sad. I don't like that thought.
Yeah. But so he believed that they could talk, that there was signals going between people's brains. And when they were amplified enough, signals could manifest. At the center of the experiments was something called the Montauk chair. The subjects were restrained in a chair and exposed to intense electromagnetic fields and forced into heightened psychological states. The chair amplified subconscious thoughts, fear, desire, memory, trauma. And the most powerful psychic involved was a man named Duncan Cameron, allegedly a descendant of someone who was involved in the Philadelphia experiment. Oh. So now we're going to the Philadelphia experiment. Have you heard that one? Mm-mm. Okay. We're not going to go deep into it. Okay. It's just kind of to let you know where he came from. Okay. So the Philadelphia experiment is a conspiracy theory about a secret 1943 U.S. Navy project to make the destroyer ship called the USS Eldridge invisible to radar, involving intense electromagnetic fields that allegedly caused it to teleport from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia, and back, with horrific side effects for the crew, including madness or fusing with the ship. Their bodies fusing with the ship.
You want to know what that reminds me of? You know Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like the old one, where it's like the chocolate, like, and it goes into the little particles or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, don't do that because you might not come back right.
Yeah.
That's what reminds me of.
Yes. And that's basically what happened, yes. But in real life, to a man named Duncan Cameron. But during one experiment at the Montauk location, a subject's fear reportedly manifested as a physical entity. Witnesses described a large animalistic creature covered in coarse hair that was aggressive and uncontrollable, and it attacked personnel inside the underground facility. According to Nichols, the only way to stop it was for Duncan Cameron to physically erase it from existence, not kill it, but unmake it. Because he's the one that his fear is the one that manifested it, apparently. This incident allegedly ended the experiments, or at least ended them above ground. Montauk wasn't just about mind control. It was about time manipulation as well. Okay. So, these experiments allegedly included sending consciousness forward and backward in time, creating wormholes using frequency resonance, pulling objects and people from other timelines into the current timeline, and losing subjects permanently. They just lost some people.
Straight up butterfly effect.
Some researchers linked the Montauk experiment, or Montauk, to the Philadelphia experiment and the Mandela effect. And I thought of the butterfly effect as well.
Sorry, I got so many movie references.
The theory suggests that Montauk caused micro fractures in reality, small enough to go unnoticed, but large enough to alter memory and perception.
Like, I'm telling you, Fruit of a Loom.
What?
You don't know the Mandela effect thing with Fruit of a Loom?
Oh, yes. Okay. What is that one?
It's they say that the cornucopia is not there, but it was there.
But it was there. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
It was definitely there. I forgot about that one.
Dude, mind blown.
Mandela effects are crazy.
Yes.
I actually really like looking into those because there's quite a few of them.
Oh, we could do like a mini something on that.
Maybe someday if we start Patreon.
Maybe.
We could do fun little things on that and things like that. Anyways, okay, so getting back to this. Okay. This is the part that makes even seasoned researchers uneasy. Multiple accounts claim that the test subjects were runaways, orphans, and foster children.
No.
Yep. Children that no one would look for was their specific
I'm telling you,
identifiers.
These people had minds of serial killers. And it's crazy.
Yeah. They were, you're not going to like this, but they were allegedly subjected to extreme trauma.
No.
Mentally fragmented, memory wiped, or never returned.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. Survivors claim they lived normal lives until the memories resurfaced decades later. And then they suffered PTSD, dissociation, night terrors, identity loss. Like, these kids were like officially...
That's even worse than from, like, last episode where, like, people were going in for, like, legit treatment and they were doing all those things. But these people didn't even...
children.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
In July of 2008, a group of teenagers walking along the beach near Montauk Point stumbled upon something that would instantly reignite decades of fear and conspiracy. Lying on the shoreline was a decomposing carcass, but not one that anyone could immediately identify.
Was it mermaids?
It was the cryptid.
What is it?
The teens did what teens do. They took photos.
Did they poke it with a stick?
They probably did. And within hours, those photos were online. And by the next day, the internet had given it a name, the Montauk Monster.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, what does it look like? I gotta know.
Well, descriptions of the creature varied slightly depending on who you asked, but the photos were unsettling enough on their own. Common features reported: hairless or nearly hairless body, grayish, leathery skin, elongated snout or beak-like mouth with visible teeth and strange limb proportion, and what appeared to be hands and not paws in some photos. Like, it looked like little human hands.
So like a platypus?
No, because I think it's more of like a snout, beakish mouth than like a bill.
Okay.
It didn't resemble a raccoon, a dog, a seal, a deer, And that ambiguity is exactly what made it explode online, because the more people tried to identify it, the less it made sense. If this creature had washed up anywhere else, it might have been written off instantly, but Montauk already had a history of government secrecy, Camp Hero looming nearby, decades of rumors of underground labs, allegations of animal experimentation, and whispered stories of things that were never meant to leave the base. The location alone had turned this weird carcass into possible evidence. People immediately began asking, did this come from Camp Hero? I don't know. Possible theories for the Montauk Monster. Number one.
Numero uno.
Number one. Escaped experimental animal. One of the most popular early theories was that the creature was genetically modified and had escaped or was released, died and washed out to sea and eventually drifted back to shore. People pointed to its hairless body, its unusual skull shape, and its apparent hands, and the proximity to the alleged Montauk underground labs.
I wonder how many like digits it had on its hands. Like, did it have thumbs?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if it had thumbs. It just says hands and everything. I don't know. But theory number 2, a cryptid or unknown species. Cryptid enthusiasts suggested a previously undiscovered species, a deep sea creature altered by decomposition, or something non-native to Earth's current taxonomy.
Aliens.
An alien. The lack of fur and the visible muscle structure made it look like unfinished, like something that just didn't belong. And number 3, people think it's a hoax. Of course. Some skeptics immediately claimed that the body was staged, the photos were manipulated, or the entire thing was a prank. But this theory weakened when multiple photos from different angles surfaced. Locals confirmed the body was real, and then the carcass disappeared just randomly, very quickly.
Forever?
Yeah. Before scientists could properly examine the remains, the Montauk Monster just vanished. No official report, no documented collection, no confirmed necropsy. I can't say that word really well, apparently. So they don't know if the tides carried it away or if the authorities removed it, just quietly took it.
Snatched it up?
Yep. That's what I think happened, personally. But
because I feel like, okay, this was going to sound like a dumb question. How long did they leave it out there? They just like, we're not touching it? Like, just...
It doesn't say how long, but I mean, like, so on the Oregon coast, there's things that wash up sometimes.
Right.
They'll leave it for like a day or two. Before it finally gets picked up sometimes. Like, and it'll be this nasty, smelly carcass on the beach.
But I feel like if it's like has all this hubbub about it, like, ooh, aliens, ooh, cryptid, like they'd want to like snatch it up. And
they did. It did say quickly.
Okay.
So I don't know like how quickly, but it did say quickly.
Okay.
But whatever happened, the lack of transparency from the government only fueled suspicions. Eventually, biologists weighed in based on the photos alone. The most common explanations offered were a decomposed raccoon. This became the official favorite explanation.
Because of the hands?
Because raccoon skulls can look beak-like when the flesh decomposes.
Right.
Water exposure removes fur. Missing lower jaw could alter appearance because it was missing the lower jaw. And the front paws could resemble hands on a raccoon.
Right.
But critics weren't convinced. The proportions looked off, the skull shape didn't fully match, the teeth placement was strange, and the body seemed too large and too elongated. Others suggested a dog that was bloated and decomposed in water, or a coyote affected by scavenging.
But that wouldn't explain the hands, though.
Yeah, plausible, but not satisfying. One of the biggest sticking points was the teeth. In several images, the teeth appear uniform and almost human-like in spacing, and they're not clearly carnivorous or herbivore teeth.
So they're not flat or pointy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that detail alone kept the debate alive. Here's the thing. If this had been clearly a raccoon, the story would have died in a week, but it didn't because no definitive testing was released, the body disappeared too fast, the location was too perfect,
right,
and Montauk already carried too much baggage. So to conspiracy researchers, the Montauk Monster wasn't a proof of one thing. It was a reminder that the government has experimented on people and animals before. Classified programs often stay hidden for decades, and not everything that washes ashore is meant to be seen. So, skeptics argue that Nichols' memories were unreliable, that the stories evolved over time, and that no physical evidence exists because the Montauk Monster was just a raccoon. And believers counter that MK Ultra was once, quote unquote, impossible too. Classified programs routinely stay hidden for decades, and too many stories overlap in disturbing ways. And the station's underground levels to this day remain sealed.
Ooh.
So that's kind of like Area 51-ish, like, what are you trying to hide?
Right.
You know? So, yeah. So that's the Montauk Project.
Ugh, I don't like that one either.
You don't like that one
No.
either? Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for you for that. So it is your turn.
Do they? Okay, so are the pictures still online of
Well, let's Google it. Pausing. Okay, so I just pulled up some pictures for Mena, and she said it looks like a baby rhino with what?
With like without the tusk. Like almost. Okay, wait.
It has like a.
It looks like a small
Like its body looks like a pig.
like a Pumbaa.
It does kind of look like a warthog a little bit. But kind of like a warthog had sex with a...
I don't know.
I don't even fucking know. I don't know. It like has pig ears and a piggish body, and then but weird human hands, and like its like mouth, it goes out like a snout, but then like it like curves at the end like a bird's, like a bird's beak does.
I don't like that.
Yeah?
That's unsettling.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's the Montauk Monster and the Montauk Project and all things Montauk. Another place we should go. What?
No.
Chicken.
Bok bok. All right.
Okay. Yeah, your turn.
You ready?
I am so ready.
All right. So my honey actually sent me a TikTok about this place.
Oh, okay.
It's not in the United States. It's over in Europe.
Okay.
Okay. So it is called Houska Castle.
Okay. And where is it?
I'm gonna get there.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. Okay. So today we're heading to the heart of Europe, into the dense forests of the Czech Republic.
Okay.
But before we get into the geography, I want to start with a question. Whit, when you hear the phrase, the gateway to hell, what is the first image that pops into your head?
The gateway to hell?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the first image or the first...
Just what's the first image? Like when you think of that, what do you think of?
I picture... like a big black wrought iron fence with flames behind it.
Right. So we think of something kind of like, so when we think of like a gateway to hell, some people think of like somewhere in the middle of a desert or like brimstone-y volcano, something like that, like falling into a pit of something.
Fire and brimstone.
Yes, exactly. But we don't usually think of a quiet stone administrative building.
Mm-mm.
Okay. But today, since we're talking about the Houska Castle, and what makes this place truly terrifying isn't just the legend, it's how organized the history is. So let's ground this reality before we get to the demons. If you
Okay.
If you want to visit Houska, you're heading about 29 miles north of Prague.
Okay.
It sits in the municipality of, and I had to Google how to say this, Blatce.
Okay.
It's Blatce, but it's pronounced Blatce. Within the Labyrinth region, it's a beautiful, rugged area. But in the 13th century, it was the edge of the known world. So like,
okay,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
All right. So Houska is a classic Gothic castle, but it wasn't built for a warlord or a lonely princess. Construction began in the second half of the 13th century, likely under the reign of the Iron and Golden King Ottokar II.
Okay.
And its official purpose, it was the regional administrative center. So it was built to manage extensive royal estates. This was where the crown's business happened. Land management.
So like headquarters.
Yeah, like tax collection and legal oversight for the Hebraic region. But that's where the normal history ends and the nightmare begins.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Because if you were just building a place to file paperwork and manage farms, like if we think about it, how we think about it today, you wouldn't build it where they built Houska. You wouldn't build it over a bottomless pit.
Oh.
And you certainly wouldn't build it with the defensive walls facing the people inside.
No.
Right? So, when we have the administrative center in Blotze, I have such a hard time with that. But if you were an architect looking at the blueprints for Houska in the 1200s, you'd think the builder had lost their mind. Let's look at the physical reality of this place. Let's go back to the second half of the 13th century. Imagine the Hebraic region as it was then. A massive dark wilderness of swamps and limestone cliffs. This wasn't a place people wanted to live.
Okay.
But King Ottokar II had a problem. He was expanding the Bohemian crown and he needed to manage his vast royal estates in the north.
Okay.
Okay. But why build it there? You would think that if he wanted like this central point, it would be built in like a
central
village
location.
Like it'd have a village, it'd have water and roads, right? That is the question that keeps historians up at night. Houska was built almost simultaneously as the Bezdez Castle, which is only about 9 miles away.
Okay.
Bezdez is a proper fortress. It's on a high hill, it has massive watchtowers, and it protects trade routes, which makes sense, right? But Houska is just a complete anomaly. It was built on the site of an old wooden fort from the 9th century founded by a duke named Slavibor for his son Houska, which literally means bun in Czech.
Okay.
Though the history is anything but sweet. When Ottokar II upgraded it to stone in the late 1200s, he didn't give it a moat. That's weird, right? He didn't give it a kitchen. He didn't even give it a well. So to this day, the only water source is a stone cistern designed to catch rainwater.
Oh.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not for defense and it's not for living in, what is it for? This is where the theory gets interesting. While the official documents say it was for managing estates, the physical building tells a different story. If you're looking at this masonry, which is still mostly preserved today, it's built like a prison. The thickest, most impenetrable stone isn't on the outside walls. It's on the walls facing the inner courtyard. But it gets weirder. Let's talk about the windows. If you look at the castle from a distance, it looks like it has 2 stories of grand windows. But when you get closer, you realize many of the windows are fake. They are just frames built into the stone with no opening behind them. They were designed to give the illusion of a normal castle to anyone watching from the woods.
Oh, creepy.
So what do you think about fake windows?
I feel like, yeah, that's really weird that they would go to the effort to put up fake windows instead of just putting up real windows. Like,
yeah, because like,
they're obviously hiding something.
Because like nowadays you have some houses that have like the fake shutters or whatever for like decorative stuff.
Yeah.
But like back then, I feel like they wouldn't be thinking about that.
Right.
So, yeah, it's weird. And then there's the smoking gun of Houska's weirdness. The inward defense. And every castle in
the what?
The inward defense.
Inward. INWARD. Not N-word.
Not N-word.
N-W-O-R-D.
Okay, you can.
Yeah, I was like, what?
No, the inward defense.
Okay.
Sorry, I talk fast.
No.
In every other castle in the Czech Republic, like I said a little bit ago, the thickest walls and the arrow slits and the battlements face out. You want to stop the invaders from getting in.
Yeah.
At Houska, it's reversed, and the fortifications are built to defend the outside world from whatever is in the inner courtyard.
Is it a monster? I'm sorry, did I just ruin it? I'm getting so excited. Keep going.
The windows that do exist look inward, and the stairs are built to defend from someone coming up from the center. It's as if the 13th century builders weren't worried about an army of men attacking from the front gate. It seems as though they were worried about something breaking out of the floor.
Oh, shit. Oh, you were talking... Oh, okay. Click.
It's a cage, and at the very center of the cage sits the chapel. It's built directly over the only part of the cliff that isn't solid limestone. It's built over a hole that locals claimed had no bottom. When you stand in the chapel today, you aren't just standing in a place of worship. You're standing on the lid of a stone sarcophagus designed to keep a nightmare buried.
It's like, what movie was that? Fuck. The Nun, maybe? I don't remember if it was... No, I feel like it wasn't The Nun. I watched a scary movie that was like that had like an entrance to hell type thing going on with it. And now I need to know what movie it is. And it's going to kill me. I'll think of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. All right. So now that we've established the architecture of Houska, and that makes no sense as a fortress, but it makes sense when you believe the folklore that haunted the Labyrinth region for 7 centuries. Let's talk about the chasm in the chapel before the chapel was there. Now, if you were to find a big old bottomless hole, would you leave it alone?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I would walk straight away from it.
Do you think these people left it alone?
No.
Okay.
I think they threw shit into it and tried to see how far it would go at least.
Right. Yeah. So, no, they did not leave it alone at all. They called it the gateway to hell. Locals claimed that at night, half human, half animal creatures would crawl out of the blackness, dragging livestock and eventually people down into the pit.
Oh my God.
When the Bohemian Crown took over the site in the late 1200s, they decided to test the hole's depth with the most expendable resource they had, which were prisoners. The story goes that the construction crew offered a full pardon to any man facing the gallows if he agreed to be lowered into the pit on a rope and simply report back what he saw. So, I mean, I understand the logic.
I get it. I would, if I was a prisoner, I'd probably be like, yeah.
So
why not?
Yeah.
As long as they gave me a light. Like a light source. Like a lantern.
I would think it'd be drafty, though.
Oh, true. I don't know.
So I don't really understand.
Maybe I'll just do my time. I'm not sure.
Okay. So one young man agreed. They tied a rope around his waist, lowered him over the edge, and let out the slack, and the rope kept going, as though he'd never reached the bottom. He hadn't been down there for more than a minute when the screaming started. It wasn't a, hey, help me up scream. It was like the sound of pure primal terror. They hauled him up as fast as they could, and when he finally breached the surface, the men at the top recoiled. This young man's hair had turned snowy white, and he looked like he had aged 40 years in the time he was down there. He was babbling about things in the dark that didn't belong in our world, and he was sent to a sanitarium where he died 2 days later.
Oh.
So,
damn. So don't send anyone else, right?
You would think they would leave it alone.
Nope, sure didn't, did they?
That brings us to the actual construction of the chapel.
Okay.
Because they built it, right? Because they didn't just cover it, they consecrated it. The chapel of San Rafael sits directly over the pit. But if you go inside, it doesn't feel like a place of peace. It feels like a lid on a boiling pot.
I bet.
Yeah.
Because it literally is. What?
You just sound so spooked. All right, so let's pause on the image of the prisoner, because it's one thing to hear a ghost story, and it's another to look at the architectural bill of materials. To build a chapel over a bottomless hole in the 1200s was an engineering nightmare, you would think, right? Because they didn't have steel beams, they had limestone, mortar, and faith is what they had.
Faith.
I mean, that's what they got. And to think that they're 29 miles away from the capital, it wouldn't be a cheap project, you know? So it was literally a royal fortune. Legends say that before the first stone of the chapel was laid, the workers tried to cancel the hole. They spent years shoveling dirt and rocks and debris into the crack. But the local chronicles say that the hole was a hungry mouth.
Yeah.
You could drop a boulder in and you'd never hear it hit the bottom. It just vanished into the silence, like gone. See ya.
Oh my God.
So let's step inside of the chapel now. This isn't your typical like high ceilinged Gothic cathedral. It's cramped, it's heavy, and the art on the walls is where this history of Houska gets really weird. So the walls are covered in some of the most bizarre Gothic frescoes in Europe. And I had to look this up.
That?
I had to look it up because I was like, what is that? So it means, that meant which is a durable mural painting technique where pigments mixed with water are applied to wet lime plaster, allowing the color to bond with the wall as it dries.
Okay.
It also refers to like artwork created this way, famously seen in the Renaissance masterpieces like the Sistine Chapel.
Okay.
So it says usually the 13th century, you see scenes of like the nativity or the crucifixion. They're often designed to draw your eyes up towards heaven.
Yeah.
But in Houska, the images of the centaurid, a female centaur, is the medieval iconography. The centaur was a symbol of the demonic or the half-man, half-beast nature. And get this, in the chapel, she is a left-handed archer and is designed to make you look down.
Oh.
Because she's pointing down, right? So, like, in the Middle Ages, being left-handed is often, like, associated with, like, the sinister or, like, the devil. So, like, if you put all that together and you, like, think of, like, the Sistine Chapel, it makes you look up. And then you have this where it's, like, left-handed, sinister, pointing down.
Yeah.
Oogie boogie. Like, no. So she's aiming her arrow directly at the floor, at the very spot where the pit is said to be. It's almost as if the art itself is a set of instructions or a permanent spiritual guard, keeping the entities below suppressed under the stone.
Damn.
Scary. This is where, like, the administrative theory gets a dark upgrade. Some historians wonder if the estates being managed weren't farms at all. Maybe the estate was the castle itself. Maybe the clerks weren't there to manage land. They were there to keep 24/7 royal watch on the seal. A ministry of the pit, hidden under the guise of a boring, like, tax office.
Yeah.
Like, that's spooky, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So we have to talk about the physical sensations people report there. It's not just like the vibes people report. It's the temperature in the chapel can drop 20 degrees in seconds, even in the middle of summer. So they report that the sound of heavy thuds, like something massive hitting the underside of the floor, despite there being no basement.
No.
Just solid limestone, or what should be solid limestone. So now let's talk about the older folklore. Let's move forward 700 years. So the year is 1939. Okay. The Nazis have occupied Czechoslovakia and the SS. Specifically, the occult-obsessed Heinrich Himmler takes a sudden interest in a remote, boring castle in the Labyrinth region.
Okay.
So the SS took over Houska Castle and declared it a restricted zone. Local residents were barred from the area. And for years, the castle was shrouded in total secrecy. But why? Why send your most specialized units to a castle with no strategic value, no water, no tactical advantage? Like, weird. So we have to talk about what the Nazis believed. Like Himmler was convinced that the earth was hollow and at the very least contained pockets of ancient virile energy. He believed that certain places on earth were thin spots where one could communicate with a previous godlike race, which I don't know too much about that. That's what
Maybe
the articles were
we'll
saying.
look into. Yeah.
They didn't see the gateway to hell as a place of punishment. They saw it as like a power source. Okay. So there are reports, though many files were destroyed at the end of the war, that the Nazis conducted biological experiments in the chapel. They weren't just like praying to a saint. They were allegedly trying to bridge the gap between our world and whatever the prisoners had seen in the 1200s.
Yeah. Okay.
So we ask ourselves, like, can this be true? That's the chilling part. When the war ended and the castle was eventually reclaimed and renovated, they found things. They found the remains of Nazi soldiers who appeared to have been executed, not by an invading army, but by their own people.
Oh.
So why? Did they see something they weren't supposed to see?
Yeah.
But the most physical evidence is the renovations. The Nazis did extensive work on the castle, including deepening certain areas and reinforcing the walls. When the castle was opened to public later, investigators found that the Nazis had been obsessed with the courtyard and the chapel, the two places directly connected to the pit. Some researchers believe trying to use the inward-facing architecture of the 13th century as some sort of antenna or like an occult laboratory to harness the energies from below.
Oh, okay.
So today, psychics and paranormal investigators who visit Houska claim that the Nazi occupation stained the building. They say that the organic demonic energy of the pit was amplified by the atrocities and the dark rituals performed by the SS. It's like the Nazis took a 700-year-old battery and gave it a fresh charge of horror.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So the war ends, the Nazis flee, and eventually Houska Castle is open to the public. You can go to there today. You can go like buy tickets and walk through the gate and stand in the chapel. But while the official record says it's a historical site, the visitors say otherwise. So the sightings aren't just your standard white lady, or not white lady.
Lady in white.
Lady in a white dress. They're specific, repetitive, and deeply strange. The most famous resident of the Houska is a figure known as the Black Monk. He is described as a towering figure in a heavy dark robe, but here's the kicker. He doesn't have a face. He's often seen standing near the chapel or wandering the courtyard, the very places we know are defending the pit. Some people think he isn't a ghost at all, but a guardian left behind by the original 13th century builders to make sure the seal stays intact.
Oh, shit.
So if you saw the Black Monk, like, walking around, would you, like, book it, or would you want to see what he's doing?
That's a really good question, because part of me wants to say, like, literally just play dead, like, curl up in fetal position and just start crying. And part of me does want to see what he's up to, you know?
The anxiety-ridden side wants me to run, but, like, the nosy Rosie in me is like, hey, what you doing?
Right.
Like, can I see?
Can I see? Yeah.
So, outside the castle walls in the forest of the Blatze, people have reported seeing a headless black horse. It's seen galloping toward the castle gate and then simply vanishing into the stone.
A headless horse, not a headless horseman?
No, a horse.
Headless horse?
A headless horse.
That would be startling, yes.
But even more unsettling than that is the hybrids. Remember those 13th century stories about the half human, half animal creatures?
Yeah.
Today, people are reporting shadow figures, describe them as having elongated limbs and animal-like creatures crawling alongside the ceilings of the wings. And
cute.
it's as if the biological experiments the Nazis were rumored to be doing, or the entities from the medieval priests were trying to trap, never actually left. Like, they're still there.
Yeah.
So there's one modern story that's like, ugh. A group of paranormal investigators stayed overnight in the 90s. They had a dog with them, a calm, well-trained animal. When they entered the chapel, the dog suddenly froze and began whimpering. And then bolted out of the room. Was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, me too then.
It refused to re-enter the castle. Later, when they looked at their audio recordings, they heard what sounded like heavy rhythmic breathing coming from inside the stone altar.
No.
So if the dog says, nope, I'm out, like...
you listen to the dog, dude.
Yeah. So where does that leave us? On one hand, we have hard facts. We're 29 miles north of Prague. It's like sits in this Gothic castle that was built in the second half of the 13th century, managed by royals. You know, the place is law and order. This is just what it is. And on the other hand, you have a building that looks like a prison built over a bottomless pit filled with the occult and supposed Nazi secrets.
Yes.
You know?
No, I'm on that team. Team that side.
Right. So it's like maybe we're somewhere in the middle. Maybe in the 13th century, managing the royal estate meant more than just taxes. Maybe it meant managing the boundaries between our world and the next. Because at Houska, the walls don't just talk, they scream.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely think that that castle was meant to protect, to keep something out. And they probably did say, yeah, it's just an administrative building, don't worry about it, because they didn't want people to know that, oh, we're saving you from demons that come out of the ground at night.
And I do have sources for like articles that I used for this, and that's going to be in the show notes. So
okay, cool.
So yeah, if y'all wanted to like do deeper digging, yeah, go for it, dude. Because
nice.
I thought it was pretty creepy. The TikTok that I saw was pretty awesome. So
you gotta send me that TikTok too.
Yeah, I do.
I want to see this place.
It looks like kind of like a box, but like this way and not like out.
Houska Castle. Interesting. It doesn't look castle-y either.
No.
It looks like...
Because like, so Prague is supposed to be like the castle capital from what I like read. Like they have castles everywhere. But like when you look at the castles in like Prague proper, they look like castles.
Yeah,
like,
this one's like just a square building with like a,
and you see like at the top
it's like it like goes inwards,
instead of out.
Yeah, it does. That's really weird. Very cool.
So yeah, that was the spooky.
That was it. I liked it. All right, well, next, so remember last week we had the dinosaur story.
Yes.
From Jacob the narrator. We read the intro and chapter 1. So again, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, like what are you even doing? Because you're not going to get this episode at all.
But good news is you can go back and listen and then come back to this episode.
That is true. That is very true. You could do that. That would be appreciated.
Yes.
Because then you'll get this.
Yes.
Because we are starting at chapter 2. So, ready,
and go.
Set, go. The outside world of Calavis. You know, I don't know how to say that. It's Kalavis. Nope, Kalavas. Calavis. That's what we're going to say. So the outside world of Calavis was once loud and lively, filled with daily traffic jams and crowds of people rushing to work. It was noisy and bustling, yes, but at least no one had to worry about being attacked by some creature you'd only read about in books or seen in museums. As Kyle opened the door, sunlight hit him hard, forcing him to steady himself. His grip tightened around the pipe, ready to smash whatever might be waiting outside, but as he stepped out, there was nothing. He looked around the empty street. Overgrown roads, cars scattered in places they didn't belong. The air, surprisingly fresh, hit his nostrils. He closed his eyes and inhaled deeply with a sigh. Despite the nightmare he was living in, the air was better, cleaner, not so heavy. He fixed his backpack, which carried only water, flashlight, bandages, and few other essential things, just in case. He looked up toward his window but saw no presence there. Back when he used to go to work, normally, Kristen would always wave at him and blow kisses his way, but everything had changed. This place, him, just everything. He blinked slowly and started to walk towards the store, which was only a few minutes away. On his way through the desolated surroundings, he often heard distant sounds, sometimes from creatures, sometimes just birds. He was startled when he suddenly heard glass shatter nearby, only to see that it was just 3 small dinosaurs. He wasn't a paleontologist, but he'd heard they were called Compsognathus or something like that. One of them was more curious about Kyle than the others, but Kyle just hit a car with a pipe to create a loud sound and shouted, "Get out of the way, you little shits! Come on!" He shouted, and it was enough to scare those tiny scavengers away. He shook his head. He'd had to deal with those little assholes many times. While not entirely dangerous to him, they were a pain in the ass in some cases. Mostly, they just stole food or were bold enough to actually try and take a bite out of someone when they weren't looking. They disappeared into the nearby bushes, and Kyle continued on his way down the broken road. He just hoped the sound hadn't attracted something bigger. The buildings around him stood tall, though they looked like they had seen better days. Some were overgrown as well, a result of the long absence of human touch. It wasn't clear whether anyone still lived there or not. It felt like a ghost town. After 10 minutes of endless walking through the town without any intruders, he finally arrived at his destination, Freddy's Fresh Grocer. Fresh, yeah, sure, he muttered to himself, but please, at least something. He stepped inside the store, the small bell above the door ringing as always. In some situations, it might have been better to just tear it off, but at least this way he wouldn't be surprised by anything lurking inside, especially if there was a dinosaur, or something worse. Kyle roamed the abandoned store, searching for anything that wasn't out of date yet. Most of the shelves had already been looted, with pieces of paper and empty cans scattered across the floor. The whole store looked like it had been hit by a fucking tornado. But after some time, the only thing he managed to find were 2 cans of beans, still edible, hopefully. Damn it, this isn't enough, he sighed in frustration. There was no other choice but to search other nearby stores, and if things got truly dire, he'd have to visit the Holy John Apartments. Holy John Apartments, one of the few survivor camps where people had managed to piece together a semblance of civilization. He hadn't set foot there in months. And truth be told, he had no desire to return unless circumstances truly demanded it. Not that it was unsafe, but most of the people there didn't really like him, and Kyle didn't really like them. He generally was better off on his own. Well, him and Kristen, of course. With a sigh of disappointment, yet with unbroken determination, he searched the nearby food stores, or basically any store, in the hope of finding at least something to eat. The beans hadn't been enough. Nature remained peaceful for now. Distant sounds of creatures, likely calling to others, echoed from the horizon. A slight wind moved gently through the trees in the abandoned buildings. Through the overgrown roads, the tall trees towering above offered at least some protection from aggressive flying creatures. It had only been 7 years since the disaster, yet in that short time, Mother Nature had already transformed these streets into a small park. Just 7 years. And if he managed to survive the years ahead, it might one day become a full-blown jungle, untouched by human hands. But store after store, search after search, disappointment after disappointment, he found only a few more cans. As he wandered through the city, he tried to think of another way. Maybe I could try hunting, or fishing maybe? Sure, a few elk roamed the area, but his thoughts were abruptly cut off when he spotted the old abandoned shopping center. Just on the other side of the road, an old car lay wrecked across the entrance, rusted. He'd been warned, places like this were best avoided. Dark, vast, and heavy with the sense of unknown danger lurking within. Dangerous, yes, but that also meant the good stuff inside might still be untouched, unlooted.
Is he gonna risk it for the biscuit?
He'd passed it many times before, but never dared to check it out. If anything was living in there, it might be out hunting now. But a place like this was the perfect hideout for night stalkers. Risky, but he didn't really have a choice. He had to take the chance. He crept closer, examining the entrance and the wrecked car before pulling out his flashlight. With a click, a beam of light cut into the dark void beyond. Despite the glow, he could barely see anything. Then it hit him, that strange, primal feeling, the sense that something was watching him from the darkness. Kyle grabbed a nearby rock and hurled it into the darkness. A second later, he heard it clatter against something metallic, the sound echoing loudly through the center. Whatever was out there had surely heard it. Kyle braced himself, expecting the sound of running, a hiss, a growl, anything, but there was nothing. It might have seemed like a foolish tactic, but at least this way he'd know if something was inside, rather than blindly stepping into the dark while something would stalk him from the shadows. And honestly, trying to stay quiet probably wouldn't help much anyways. His flashlight beam would give him away, and these creatures weren't stupid either. He'd had his fair share of encounters with clever and intelligent ones, some capable of opening doors, others setting primitive yet convincing ambush traps, and some were far worse, far more dangerous. Before Kyle carefully stepped through, he slid his flashlight through the shoulder slot of his backpack, a feature specifically designed to hold it in place, so he could keep both hands free or hold something with both hands just in case he would need to defend himself. Finally, he was inside. Gripping a pipe tightly in both hands, Kyle crept through the empty, dark mall. The light from the entrance offered some visibility, but it quickly faded, and he was swallowed by complete darkness. No sounds echoed from the distance or from behind him, only the soft, careful rhythm of his own footsteps. Though nothing had reacted to the stone he'd thrown earlier, that didn't mean he was alone. Maybe small creatures had ignored it, maybe they scattered, or maybe, whatever was out there, hadn't fallen for it. After a few seconds, his eyes began to adjust to the darkness. He tried to recall where any food stores might be. Definitely on the first floor, that's for sure. Medical supplies should be there too. And then, crack. He froze. The sound and sensation of something snapping beneath his feet sent a chill down his spine. Slowly, he looked down and saw a horrifying sight. Bones scattered. He couldn't tell if they belonged to an animal, another dinosaur, or perhaps some poor soul who'd ventured in before him and never made it out. He gritted his teeth and looked around in the darkness. It was probably loud enough for something to hear it. He steadied himself even more, expecting something to run toward him, but no visitor came to surprise him, nothing at all. Fucking hell, he whispered to himself, sighing with relief before frowning at the sight. He left the bones behind, this time watching more carefully where he stepped, not wanting to make another sound and end up like that poor fella. Still, the feeling of being watched hadn't faded. It had probably grown stronger. Kyle couldn't help but glance over his shoulder from time to time, unable to shake the feeling that something was out there in the darkness. As expected, Kyle managed to find the food store on the first floor. The automatic doors were stuck open, long since broken, not that he'd expected them to work. To his surprise, the place looked relatively untouched. Shelves still held some food, and even a few bottles of water remained.
Hey.
He eyed the water cautiously. It might still be drinkable, but he wasn't willing to take the risk. He had rain collectors back at his shelter anyway, and with the common rainfall lately, water had never really been a problem. He opened his backpack and began packing in some canned goods and other long-lasting foods. While it wasn't exactly a full stockpile, it would last them at least 10 days, 10 more days alive. He gathered the food with a relieved smile. There were still a few more items left, but his backpack was running out of space. "I'll return here later," he said to himself. That's when he heard a few cans fall behind him. With a slight gasp of surprise and fear, he spun around, gripping the pipe tightly, ready to strike at anything. And there it was, a small, brown, feathered velociraptor, scavenging through the food. It stood about 80 centimeters tall. He lowered his weapon slightly, but kept his guard up. Even a creature this size could kill him. What unsettled him more was the fact that it was alone. He knew they hunted in packs. The small raptor stood a little taller, as if trying to make itself look bigger. It tilted its head to the side, then let out a sharp, high-pitched screech from its toothy mouth, small but loud and long enough to sound like a call, a warning, or a signal. Then it lowered itself slightly and began walking towards him, hissing with each step. Kyle instinctively stepped back, but the raptor followed, its movements deliberate, almost taunting, trying to intimidate him. "Stay back!" Kyle shouted, his voice echoing through the empty store. The raptor opened its mouth slightly, revealing its small but sharp teeth. But when it looked like it would jump at Kyle, it suddenly closed its mouth and stood tall again before stepping back. Then, as fast as a viper, it started running away from Kyle, disappearing from the store and into the dark. Kyle's face turned into pure confusion, and for a few seconds he stood there processing what the hell had just happened. He stared at the place where the raptor once was. As Kyle stood there in confusion, something slowly and quietly stood there at the storage entrance. He had no idea he was being watched by something with small, shiny, white eyes cutting through the darkness, by something stronger, smarter, and far more dangerous than a common raptor, and even bigger than Kyle himself. Now to the next chapter, chapter 3. Kyle stood confused in place in the swallowing darkness, his flashlight still shining on the place where the raptor once was, while having no idea that literal death is sneaking in on him from behind. That's when realization hit him like a train. Something must have scared the raptor, something that Kyle wasn't aware of until now. He felt it, the presence of a far greater predator. His breath caught in his throat as sweat started to fall down his brow, and he gripped the pipe more tightly, though he was paralyzed to even turn around. He was genuinely terrified and vulnerable at this moment that might be even his last. He didn't know what exactly was behind him, and his mind raced with billions of thoughts. Should he run or fight? Turning behind would probably not end well, and running straight away would just kick the instincts of whatever was behind him. And if that thing is big enough to scare a raptor, then with a pipe and bow, he probably wouldn't stand a chance. The creature stepped lightly and carefully as it was coming out of the storage room, its long hand with sharp claws slightly extending forward, and its mouth opened, which contained lots of sharp teeth. One strike, one wrong move, and Kyle would be done for. Kyle took a deep, silent breath before he instantly started running forward, and at that point, the chase had started. No roars or screech, just something wanting to take him down is after him. The creature jumped up towards him, ready to do a fatal strike, but Kyle was prepared for that, as he bounced quickly to the right side where he hid behind a racks and avoided the attack. He heard that the creature fell on something when Kyle avoided its attack. Creating a loud crushing sound, he and the creature both stood up. When Kyle turned behind, there he saw a sight of a majestic yet dangerous nightmare dinosaur that was probably 4 to 5 times higher than a raptor, bigger than even him. A grown Utahraptor, covered by a beautiful combination of black and white feathers covering its long and agile body. Their gazes met, and when seeing Kyle, it finally released a high, echoing roar that compared to raptors sounded like a pure nightmare fuel. Shit, he realized that he was in bigger trouble than he thought. A raptor being after you is a problem, but having a Utahraptor is 10 times bigger problem. And in close combat, 98% of people wouldn't stand a chance against such a mighty predator. More adrenaline kicked in through him, and Kyle started sprinting in a desperate attempt to get himself away from the dino that was after him. The slightly slippery floor caused the Utahraptor to skid, its sides crashing into the coolers, shattering the glass, and the cold drinks flying. This bought Kyle a few seconds, but the creature quickly regained its balance and continued the chase. Kyle turned the other way only for the Utahraptor to jump and use its strong legs to leap towards him. Kyle dodged clumsily out of the way in the last second. The weight of the creature proved to be too much as the dodge caused it to leap into the Regal instead. The huge crushing sound and falling cans and food scattered across the floor echoed through the building. The creature landed with a frustrated screech on the ground while Kyle managed to get inside the storage room from which the Utahraptor came. During this chaos, Kyle lost some of the food from his backpack, since during the chase it was still open. But he didn't stop to bother about it now, as he quickly slammed the huge door shut and at the last second jammed his pipe in between the cranks just in time. The creature crashed into the door with great force, causing Kyle to lose balance, but luckily the door held for now. But the Utahraptor still continued to slam itself into the door furiously, determined to get in. "God damn it, this thing just won't stop," he said, breathing heavily, but quickly got up on his feet. The door might not hold forever. He leaned down, taking off his backpack, and quickly started grabbing every can that fell from the backpack. And that's when his flashlight slightly landed on an object. And when pointing it towards it, he saw a nest made of a stick and leaves, with eggs in it.
Oh, no.
His eyes widened at the sight. This wasn't just his hideout, it was his goddamn nesting place. He suddenly realized the sudden aggression, since not only he entered its territory, he wandered into sanctuary where it kept its eggs. Then another thunderous blow, which made the door crack. A furious and frustrated roar erupted from the other side of the door. That won't hold the angry Utahraptor much longer. "I'm not having just a predator after me. I have a straight-up pissed-off mother after my ass," Kyle muttered, eyes wide with terror. He desperately looked around the dark room, searching for an exit or a way out. In his desperate attempt, he managed to spot an open vent on the other side of the room, but it was too high for him to climb out. Come on, Kyle said as he was looking for something to help him and found a huge box with zero interest of what was inside. He managed to carry it towards the wall and stepped on it, and luckily it held him, but there was a problem. The vent wasn't big enough to stretch through. He cursed and had no other choice but to throw his bow and arrows away. The door cracked more each time that the creature slammed into it. Does this thing even get tired? Kyle said as he was climbing up to the vent, and despite his backpack, he managed to fit in. He pulled his flashlight from his backpack hole and started to crawl away before that thing got inside. The vent was tight, dark, dirty, and smelt like shit. Kyle wasn't claustrophobic, but it felt really uncomfortable and tight, though he'd rather choose this than being torn to shreds. Each move made in the vent created heavy and creaky noise. A crash and the door falling down created a huge echoing sound that Kyle heard when crawling away to safety. The sound made him freeze for a moment. The thought that he could have been there if he hadn't found the vent sent chills down his spine, but he still escaped the horror show. A slow scraping and grinding, that's what he heard now, slow, menacing, and purposeful. His breath hitched and his body stopped. For a moment, he just stared into the dark horizon. Despite the tight area, he managed to turn his head a little while pointing the flashlight towards the source. And there he saw the Utah raptor just staring at him.
Ooh.
It flinched slightly when the light hit its face, but yet again it fixed its gaze on Kyle while its long, sharp claw continued scratching against the cool steel. Its predatory eyes fixed straight on Kyle, unblinking and sizing him up, while its toothy mouth began slightly opening. It almost looked like a grin or a smile. It didn't look or act mad like it was before. Now it looked like it knew something Kyle didn't. Almost as if it knew Kyle was cornered and trapped, or it was smart enough to figure it out over the years where this vent leads. But Kyle didn't know. Only thing he knew is that he needs to leave this place as fast as possible. The eggs were safe, but it still sees him as a threat that needs to be finished off. The stare gave him goosebumps, and at that time he didn't care what was going through that clever mind of the predator. He turned back and started to crawl even faster, away from the staring nightmare behind him. The scratching stopped, and he heard nothing anymore, but he didn't dare to turn around. He knew it was too big to fit in the vent, so he didn't have to worry about that. The vent stretched endlessly, lots of ways, and still no sign of a way out, and no sign of a Utah raptor or any other horror either. The mall was big, and he wasn't sure if the raptor and Utah raptor were the only things lurking in this pit of death. The minutes felt like hours, and for Kyle, it was slightly harder to breathe, and his flashlight looked like it wouldn't keep its light for the next hour. The only thing besides food that still remained with him, and without the light, he would be done for. But luck was on his side for now. As he stumbled upon the small but blocked vent entrance, he tried to push it open, but it didn't work, so he had to apply more force. As he struggled to break it free with his hands, he heard something that made him realize he wasn't completely alone in the vent. A screech, and then another, followed up by quick, small, echoing, creaky noises. He wasn't alone. The small raptors had managed to get inside the vent.
Oh no.
He panicked, and fear overflowed his whole body as he started more furiously and desperately trying to get himself out from the terrors lurking inside the vent. His hands throbbed as he furiously bashed into it, and finally it gave away, crashing down with a loud thud. He turned and spun around just in time to see a small pair of white shiny eyes coming quickly towards him. That was the last straw. He didn't care how high he was. He crawled out from the vent, and with that he fell hard onto the ground, onto his back, dropping the flashlight. The impact was so hard and painful that it kicked his breath out of his lungs for a second. He groaned in pain and tried to stand up, but his body refused to cooperate. As much as he tried, he only managed to turn on his belly, and with every little bit of strength he had left, he started to crawl towards his flashlight that he spotted shining in the darkness. As if he was crawling towards his salvation, towards the light that is the only thing reaming in this darkness, because if this light fades, then so will his. And there, where the light beacon was pointing, there he could see in the slight dim light a glimpse of his beloved, kneeling before him as the light shined on her, making her look like an angel. She slowly extended her hand forward. Kyle's eyes widened, breathing got more ragged and desperate, but the sight of Kristen kicked in his last pieces of hope, and he started to crawl even faster and more forcefully. But he couldn't feel the tiredness getting on him, and he had a hard time keeping his eyes open, but he refused to give up. He swore he could see more lights behind her getting closer and closer, shining through the dark, like he was crawling towards the very heavens. But that thing hadn't lost its trail of him, as the Utah raptor's eyes appeared in the darkness once more, its footsteps fast as it was charging towards Kyle from behind, ready to end this game of cat and mouse. Kyle didn't register it, or nor did he care, as he was slowly extending his hand weakly towards Kristen, her smile bringing hope even to the darkest places, promises of a better time, that she will bring him out of this nightmare like she always did. But instead of her gentle touch, he felt his palm wrapped around the cold flashlight, and no sign of Kristen anymore. His breath hitched, and his eyes could barely see anything as he was slowly losing control, and that's when he heard the incoming predator, and he weakly rolled onto his back, pointing the flashlight towards the upcoming death. He barely saw anything, only but the silhouette quickly forming and coming from the dark. The light of his flashlight couldn't keep going anymore, and the light faded, and so at the moment did his. His eyes slowly closing down, unable to hold themselves anymore. What he heard next was shouting, screeching of a retreating Utah raptor as it was backing away from Kyle, from somebody wielding a spray can and a lighter, driving the creature back with its flames. And those flames were the last thing he saw before everything went black. And guess what? There's more. So the writer of this had emailed Mena and said just read to chapter 3 and that it kind of ends itself there. But I don't feel like that ended. I feel like that very much did not end. And I want to read the rest of it. Do you want to read the rest of it?
Well, I can email him and ask him.
Yeah, email him and ask him, because I'd love to be able to read the... How many chapters are there? Let me see. We're at chapter 4. Hold on. Scrolling. Oh, nope, that's it. It's just chapter 4 is left. But it's kind of long, so I don't think I should read it today. Yeah. But ask him if we can read it. Yeah. But yeah, so that was intense. That was intense, man.
Did you see me? I was like slowly like getting closer to you.
She was like slowly leaning in and her eyes were like all wide. Oh, that was really good though.
Could you imagine if we were filming and then you just slowly see me going out of frame because I'm like trying to like...
Oh. And again, that was written by Jacob the narrator.
I want you to know my heart is like racing right now. Like...
I know. It's good. It's good. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
again,
thank you.
Because that was awesome. And I will definitely be reaching out to see if we can finish that up because I need to know what happens next.
I know. I do too. Okay. Your turn.
All right. Ready to finish it out?
I am.
All right. So this is a story written by me with some help.
Woo woo.
Woo woo. All right. So this is called The Perpetual Queue.
The Perpetual Queue. Mm-hmm. Like queue like a line? Or queue like a cue stick?
Queue like waiting. Like you're in queue.
Like you're in queue. Yeah. Like a line.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I had to get it.
All right. The alarm didn't scream. It twinkled gently. It was a soft digital pulse that synced perfectly with the resting heart rate Willow maintained through the night. At 7 a.m., Willow's eyes opened. She didn't stretch. She didn't linger in the warmth of the duvet. To Willow, the bed was merely a docking station, a necessary downtime for the biological machine that powered Willow Vance, senior data architect. She lived in a third-floor brownstone where the light entered in precise, dusty shafts. She loved this house because it was predictable. The floorboards creaked at the same pitch near the radiator, and the refrigerator hummed a steady B-flat. It was a controlled environment, free from the messy variables of the outside world. By 7:15, she was in her office. This room was her masterpiece. 3 monitors formed a glowing triptych across a reclaimed oak desk. Cables were managed with surgical precision. tucked into braided sleeves like veins under skin. There were no photos of family, no postcards from forgotten vacations. Instead, there were 3 neatly organized succulents and a mechanical keyboard with switches that clicked with the tactic snap of a firing pin.
Jeez.
Willow didn't just work from home. She lived within the logic of her work. She opened her terminal, login, W_Vance_922. Password, redacted, because of course she's not going to give you that. The screens flooded her face with a pale blue light, washing out her features until she looked like part of the hardware. Her fingers hovered over the home row. This was where she was whole. Out there in the streets of the city, she was a small girl with a quiet voice who felt overwhelmed by the smell of exhaust and the erratic movements of strangers. But here, behind the screens and the firewall, she was a god of order. She moved millions of data points with the flick of her wrist. She cleaned up messes. She brought order to the chaos. Good morning.
And my husband called me a control freak today. Remember that? Yeah, he needs to read this story.
Isn't that so weird? What is it called? Like serendipity? Like,
right?
Good morning, world, she whispered. Her voice felt rusty, a tool she rarely used. She began the daily audit. It was a grueling task, checking the integrity of lines of entry, but her fingers began to dance. A strange and cold prickle climbed up her spine. She reached the 400th line. She didn't have to read it. 044-882-X. Status pending. She paused. A flicker of deja vu, sharp as a paper cut, stung her mind. She knew that sequence. She remembered the way the X sat slightly off-center in the cell. She remembered correcting it. I did this yesterday, she thought. She checked the date on the bottom right of her screen. October 14th. She frowned. She distinctly remembered submitting the October 14th audit. She remembered the satisfaction.
No, sorry. It just clicked to me. The forever queue. And yeah, this is one of those stories that it drives me crazy because I would go fucking crazy if my day continued. If I already lived through that day, I made it through it. And then I woke up and then it's the same fucking day again? No, absolutely not. Sorry. I probably just ruined your story.
Okay.
Oh my God, sorry. You have no idea. I don't watch these movies on TV.
Well, you gotta listen to this.
I will listen to it. And it will kill me. And I will have nightmares tonight. And thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you. It's okay.
Love you. Ready?
Yes. Okay, continue.
She remembered the satisfaction of the upload complete chime. Ring! You know that sound that like, ugh, there must have been something up with the server, she muttered, her fingers resuming their frantic pace, just a sync error. She forced herself to work harder, to be more diligent. If the data was back, it meant she hadn't been thorough enough. She leaned closer to the screen, her eyes reflecting the scrolling white text. She didn't notice that her coffee in her mug wasn't steaming. She didn't notice that the clock on her wall had stopped at 7:30 a.m. She only noticed the work, because without the work, there was no Willow. By midday, the sync error on Willow's monitor was more than just an annoyance. It was an obsession. She had reprocessed 4,000 lines of data, her jaw tight. Her focus was a laser beam. In her mind, as long as the spreadsheets balanced, she existed.
Oh.
She stood up for her scheduled 10-minute break. Her legs felt heavy, and for a moment she felt strange, but couldn't quite figure out why. She headed to the bathroom. This was part of the ritual. Wash hands with a special eucalyptus soap, dry them on a gray microfiber towel, and return to the desk.
Ew, I hate microfiber towels. You know, because they don't actually absorb the moisture. They just
move it.
Feel funny. And then if you have like a dry patch on your skin, it like tugs on it. Yeah. Yes, I fucking hate it. Sorry. Okay. Continue. You're just ticking all my boxes tonight.
All right.
With that devious little smile. Jesus. Mm-hmm.
She reached for the soap. It wasn't there. The glass soap dish sat empty, a ring of dried green film mocking her. The bar was on the opposite side of the sink, perched precariously on the edge of the porcelain. Willow stared at it. Her heart gave a singular, erratic thump, not of blood, but of pure, cold adrenaline. I don't put it there. I never put it there, she thought. She reached out to move the bar back to its rightful place on the soap dish. Her hand passed through the bar. She froze. She tried again, slower this time. Her fingers didn't grip the bar. They phased through it like smoke through a screen door.
What the fuck?
A localized chill, sharp as an ice cube, blossomed in her chest. I'm just tired, she whispered. Eyesight, digital eye strain from the screens. She turned to leave the bathroom, but the hallway was no longer her gallery of minimalist order. The gray walls were gone, replaced by a vibrant, aggressive shade of sunny marigold. She could
happy.
Yeah. She could see the strokes of the rollers, still wet and glistening.
Oh.
A different picture frame hung where her geometric print should be. It was a photograph of a family. A man, a woman, a German shepherd. They were laughing like the most hilarious thing had just happened. Willow reached for the frame, her breath coming in shallow hitches. This time, her hand didn't pass through. It hit the glass with a clink. Wait, she thought, her mind racing to find the logical work solution. If I touch the frame is real. If I can't touch the soap is... She didn't finish the thought. From the kitchen, the sound of the radio crackled to life. It wasn't her lo-fi study beats. It was the local news station, the volume too high, the static scratching at her eardrums. Officials say the leak was likely undetected for weeks due to the victim's isolated lifestyle. Who's there? Willow shouted. No one answered, but she heard the front door open. 2 sets of footsteps, one heavy and rhythmic and the other light and spry, marched into her kitchen. God, Marcus, the smell is still here, a woman's voice complained. I thought the professional cleaners handled the office. They did, a man replied. Willow could hear the jingle of keys that didn't belong to her house. But you know how these old places are. Smells linger in the floorboards. We'll just keep the windows open and the sage burning. Willow lunged for the kitchen, intending to scream and shove them out of her home, but as she rounded the corner, she saw them. They weren't intruders in masks. They were a young couple carrying a box of curtains, and they walked right through her. Willow felt a sickening jolt, a static shock that vibrated through her entire being. For a split second, she didn't see the office. She saw a dark, boarded-up room. She saw a slumped figure in a chair, head tilted at an unnatural angle. Then, the work reflex kicked in. Her brain rejected the image. The kitchen snapped back into focus. The couple was gone. The radio silent.
What the fuck?
I need to finish the audit, she muttered. Her eyes wide and glassy. If I finish the audit, the house will go back to normal. Order from chaos. Order from chaos. She retreated to her office, but as she reached for the handle, she noticed the final bleed. The door to her office was no longer wood. It was a sheet of heavy, clear plastic taped to the frame with a caution tape. Through the plastic, she could see her desk. She could see herself. She was still sitting there. Her back was to the door, her fingers poised over the keyboard. She wasn't moving. Willow didn't scream. Screaming wasn't what she did. She turned away from the plastic draped door and the slumped gray shape in the chair. She focused on the only thing that made sense, the glowing of her monitors. If she could just finish the audit, the issue would be patched. October 14th would end and October 15th would begin. Time to move again. She blinked and the office was normal. She sat down. She didn't feel the chair beneath her. She simply occupied the space where the chair was supposed to be. Log in. W_Vance_922. Password redacted. Her fingers moved with a terrifying supernatural speed. She wasn't typing anymore. She was part of the stream. 10,000 lines of data flashed by. File 044-822-X status pending corrected. File 044-83-Y status pending corrected. Outside the office, the world was a cacophony of destruction. She heard plastic being sliced open, a long, agonizing hiss. She heard heavy boots on the floorboards. She heard the man, Marcus, letting out a sharp, gagging breath. "Oh, God," he whispered. "I thought they cleared everything out. Why is the computer still on?" "Don't touch it," the woman screamed. "Marcus, don't go in there." Willow ignored them. She was at line 9,998. Her vision was narrowing until the entire universe was just a white cursor on a black field. Line 9,999. Line 10,000. She slammed her finger down on the enter key. The screen flashed a blinding sterile white. The upload complete chime rang out, not from her speakers, but from the air itself, a high-frequency vibration that shattered the last of her delusions. Willow's eyes snapped open. The room was still. The air was cold, but it was a familiar cold. She sat up in bed, no yellow tape, no sunny marigold paint, just her gray walls and a soft hum of the radiator.
What the fuck?
"Just a dream," she whispered. Her voice was thin, like paper tearing. Just a very long, very bad dream. She walked into her office. Her coffee was waiting on her desk. It was steaming. She took a sip, but she couldn't taste the bean, only a faint metallic tang of something copper-like. Suddenly, there was a heavy rhythmic pounding on the front door. Not the jingle of new homeowners' keys, but the authoritative strike of someone who didn't need an invitation. "Police! Wellness check! Miss Vance, are you in there?"
Oh, God.
Willow looked at her monitor. A new email sat in her inbox. From System Admin. Subject, reply, final audit. "Willow, the work is done. You can stop now." She looked at the date in the corner of the screen. It was October 14th, but then as she watched, the numbers began to spin like a slot machine. They blurred past October, November, December. They settled on a date months into the future. The office door, her pristine wooden door, began to turn into a sheet of clear, crinkling plastic. "We're coming in!" The door burst open. 2 officers stepped in, hands on their belts, faces tight with the professional mask of men who knew they were about to see something terrible. Willow stood up to greet them. "I'm right here," her voice soft. "I finished the work, see?" The officers didn't look at her. They looked at the chair. Willow followed their gaze. She saw a girl in a headset, her skin the color of a winter sky, her head bowed as if in prayer to glowing screens. The monitors weren't showing data. They were just mirrors reflecting the empty sunlit room behind them. "No!" Willow cried. "I'm not finished!" The screen went black, and as the light died, so did Willow. The last thing she felt wasn't the floor or the cold or the fear. It was the crushing weight of an uncompleted task. In the sudden darkness of the room, the only thing left was the faint lingering smell of eucalyptus soap and the echo of a keyboard. One last click before the silence took over for good. Beneath the stack of the junk mail on the porch, letters that had been stepped over for weeks without truly being seen, lay a discarded local gazette from the previous month. On page 12, tucked between the local zoning notice and a hardware store advertisement, was a small square block of text. Vance Willow, 28. Passed away unexpectedly in her home on or about October 14th. A dedicated and brilliant data architect, Willow was known by her colleagues for her unparalleled work ethic and her ability to find order in the most complex systems. She was a quiet soul who cherished the sanctity of her home and the rhythm of her career. Friends and coworkers noted that even in her final days, Willow's digital footprint remained active, a testament to her unwavering commitment to her professional duties. Her absence is deeply felt by the many she reached through the wire, though few knew the woman behind the screen. Services were held in private. In lieu of flowers, the family asked that you simply take a moment to step away from your screens and look at the sky and take in the beautiful sounds of the world.
Is that the end?
That's the end.
That is not at all where I thought that was going. Oh my God, I thought it was one of those stories where they relive the day over and over again. That's what I thought it was.
You thought it was a Groundhog's Day?
Yes. And that's what I was talking about that drives me crazy. And then so you just took me on a whole different turn.
I did.
You did. That was really cool. That was really good. Oh, man.
I feel like you have so many emotions.
So many emotions throughout that thing.
Yeah, to have somebody so dedicated to what they do.
And yes, but also her OCD was showing, man. But that being said, for someone like that to die not feeling like they had finished what they needed to do, like that broke my fucking heart when that happened. I was like, I don't like that for her. I don't like that journey for her.
And like the feeling that she thought she finished and then they like interrupted her, but she wasn't finished. Like it wasn't like.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, that one got me right in the feelers.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm sorry that's kind of a long one. We didn't realize it would be that long.
But hey, we're glad you stick around.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around if you stayed this long.
Yes. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I have nothing else to say after that.
Well, we definitely want to hear from y'all. If y'all like specific kind of stories, or if you want us to do like deep dives into something, let us know.
Yeah, if you want us to cover something, we would absolutely look into it.
Yes, and plus we want your stories because we want to share them.
Yes, because we love reading other people's stories.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm very tired. It is very late.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and sign off. But we love you all.
Love y'all so much.
And we will talk to you next week.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.